Self-driving cars and robots continue to do some weird stuff, but it gets even stranger when people get added to the mix. Also, a judge rules that AI-generated art cannot receive copyrights, and Meta really drops the hammer on employees who don't want to go back to the office. All this and more coming up on Today in Tech. Hi, everyone. I'm Keith Shaw. Welcome to Today in Tech. The guy behind the monitors is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going very well. Let's get right into the topic of robots, cars, and bad behavior. It's really when people get added to the mix. First up, a cruise vehicle got stuck in wet concrete while driving in San Francisco. This is one of those stories where the more public these self-driving cars become, the more you're going to see stories like this. A cruise vehicle got stuck in wet concrete driving around San Francisco's Western Addition earlier this week. Paul Harvey, a San Francisco resident who lives in the area, told SF Gate in an interview that he saw the car stuck at a construction site on Golden Gate Avenue between Fillmore and Steiner Streets. The car had no passengers inside. World's greatest quote coming up. I could see 5 different scenarios where bad things happen, and this is one of them, Harvey told the website. It thinks it's a road, and it ain't, because it ain't got a brain, and it can't tell that it's freshly poured concrete. Woo! All right. So apparently,
he's not wrong.
Yeah,
that's accurate.
What's weird is that usually when you pour concrete on a street, you usually have construction crews around to stop any cars from getting into it, right?
Right.
So I want to know where the construction workers are, or did the car just ignore the people that were around there, or did it just drive right through it and go through a construction barrier? Because you don't leave the wet concrete out for anybody to
No.
to
I mean,
walk into it.
you block it off.
Yeah.
And we should know this pretty well in Massachusetts. You know, it's the orange season, right?
Yeah.
Traffic cone season. So it probably just drove through the traffic cones, because you can see on the image. I mean, you know, we're not seeing the rest of the image. You know, what's past the right side of the frame here, but there's probably cones, and it probably just drove through the cones.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not programmed to recognize orange cones yet. You know,
You would think it would be, though.
you think it would, but maybe it didn't. Maybe it wasn't able to recognize.
Go farther down. Maybe there's some other images. Nope.
No,
I guess
that's it.
not. All right.
Yeah.
This just shows, again, it's a technology that everyone is all excited about and hyped about. And in a lot of the testing, it looks really impressive. But when you get out into the real world, you have a couple of things. First, you have real world scenarios like construction. And how does a human deal with the construction versus how does a self-driving vehicle deal with construction? Mm-hmm. It can see things, and it can adapt. It can see and it can observe, and it sort of knows what's going on, but it doesn't truly know what's going on the way a human would do it. The second part is humans get in the way and they start doing bad things. And here's a couple of examples of the problems when you get humans involved. Okay, so the next story. Los Angeles TV station KTLA-5 has recently reported on a number of robot theft and vandalism incidents in West Hollywood where some robots have been robbed of the goods they're delivering, including food. The robots are used by local restaurants and are built by Serve Robotics, which pointed out to the TV station that despite some incidents, the robots still have a 99.9% delivery completion rate. Good for them. Incidents of theft and vandalism have made their way to social media over the past few months, including TikTok, with one prominent account named @FilmTheRobotsLA compiling videos of some of the mayhem. I covered the robot space when a lot of these self-driving delivery robots were out there, and the companies have assured me when I was covering this stuff, oh, we've got cameras on the robots, we know we can get your, if there's locks on it in case, for theft. Only the people that ordered the food can get the food by unlocking these robots. But this is still happening. So people you can pick up the robot and then smash it on the ground, and eventually whatever inside will come out. And it's a lot like the thefts that are going on in shoplifting, all of those types of incidents.
Smash and grab.
Yeah, it can be a smash and grab. The police, you may have the footage, but the police aren't going to investigate it because they're too busy doing other crime stuff. they're too busy going after other criminals. Same thing with shoplifting. That's why there's such a rise in shoplifting, because the cops just aren't kind of prosecuting the way they used to. So you can have all the cameras in the world, but if someone wants to get what's inside that robot, they're going to do it, because it's unlikely they're going to be prosecuted. And look at all the porch pirates for the delivery companies. They don't care.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we should start a campaign for robot rights. We need to protect the rights of these robots from being, having their goods stolen. So
yeah.
I think we should start that. But yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, I think it's a bad idea. Like, what if you order something that's a little bit more valuable than your average?
I wouldn't want anything valuable delivered to me by a robot at this point.
Yeah.
Even the drone stuff. I've seen drone footage or drone delivery items, and the first thing you think about is if you're in a rural area or out in the country, someone with a shotgun's going to just try to shoot it down.
Or not even that. But what about just like bad weather?
Yeah.
So like this past weekend, there was a tornado warning on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And it was we had
one actually did
heavy
touch
rain
down
and
I
high
think in
wind.
Rhode Island. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it did. And so it's like, if you're UPS or Amazon, you're going to deliver rain.
Well,
rain or snow.
They're not going to deliver that kind of stuff in bad weather.
Oh yeah, most of them do.
No, I think the FAA has something to say about that.
No, I mean the delivery vans.
Oh, delivery vans, not a drone
planes.
or a robot. Okay,
right.
All right, I misunderstood you.
So like UPS and Amazon are still they have to deliver.
I've gotten deliveries in the rain, and they sometimes put it in a
bag,
plastic bag that gets soaked.
Right.
Yeah.
But you get it, and it gets brought to your doorstep. But I don't think putting this much trust in a robot. I don't think it's a good idea. Granted, this is like a prototype thing. They're kind of testing it, or they literally just rolled it out.
They've rolled out a lot of these in major cities, and college campuses have this on a lot. We were at Bridgewater State University, I want to say 3 or 4 months ago, and the parking lot where we parked, you cross this little walkway, and I saw 3 or 4 of these. They were all Starship. That's the name of the company. Yeah, 3 or 4 of them just driving around.
That is a horrible idea.
No, it's not. Not if you're in college.
Idea.
No, it's not.
But what is it delivering?
Food.
Yeah,
if you're in a dorm,
just pick one up and you got a free meal. Come on, Keith.
It's locked. It's locked. The idea you can't just pick
bust
up
it open.
No, you can't. Here's what I could do. I could have walked up, picked up the robot, threw it down, see if it breaks open. You've destroyed whatever food is in there, probably a burrito.
I mean,
the burrito's all over the place. I'm not going to eat this burrito now.
You just got to take it and drive away with it.
True. I could have picked up the robot, put it in my car, and then driven home. Somehow tried to figure out how to jimmy the lock.
That'd be easy.
And then maybe but I don't know exactly what's in there. I'm assuming it's food. It could be a burrito. It could be Chinese noodles or a pizza. Who knows?
Right. I mean, if you're desperate living on the streets and you see one of these things go by, it's like, whoa, jackpot. Just grab it and run away. I'm not saying,
That's why they're not in a lot of cities at the moment. But again, this was West Hollywood, LA. And I have seen them on college campuses, and from the most part, I think that the students there are respecting the robots.
For now.
And they're not taunting them, they're not putting graffiti on them.
I just think it's a
I thought you were going to make a comment about the laziness of college students that can't get up from their dorm room and go and get some food.
Sure, we're past that. We're way past that. Now it's just questioning the validity or whatever of doing this. It's just it doesn't make sense to me.
This might be a generational thing that you just don't get yet. In terms of
it's kind of hard to understand. It's like, well, just get up and go to the store and buy your own stuff. Like,
it's a generation that was raised on app culture. That every services that you have, there's an app for it, and things can get delivered to you.
I'm just thinking of all the ways this can go wrong.
Of course.
Like I said, someone could just pick that up.
Well, the
go
idea
home
was that you would have a camera and video footage, and you could then submit it to the police. The problem is not the footage; it's they probably know who stole all these things. They just don't want to assign it to a police officer for what amounts to petty theft. If
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, if it's just a $10 food order,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
I mean, I guess you could try to get them for vandalism, for destroying property. How much,
I think maybe in confined, controlled spaces, this makes sense. Like, for example, like a hospital, right? If a doctor needs to have, certain type of medicine delivered to this patient's room,
Yeah.
put in an order, boom, it gets delivered.
Yep.
Excuse me.
And they
like-
have those.
They do.
I've seen delivery robots in hospitals.
Yeah, and like that makes sense. I saw them. This is maybe 3-4 years ago when we did a shoot in Singapore. Singapore. I mean, geez, going to a hospital in Singapore was kind of eye opening. They had robots all over the place.
Yeah.
But I mean, I feel like it's a lot easier to do it there than say here, right? Because here it's more privatized. I mean, you do have startups in Singapore that kind of focus on that, but I'm kind of thinking of this in a more controlled area, like I said, such as hospitals and stuff like that. But out in the open, I mean, there's so many variables, just like that car driving in the concrete.
Well,
Like,
initially,
come on, anything can happen.
the early parts of those, the cities were banning them from the sidewalks because they were getting in the way of people walking and bicyclists and other types of people. They didn't know exactly how to go across the street, if there was a walk signal versus a not walk signal, and sometimes they would get stuck in the middle of the road and impede traffic. I think the technologies have gotten better. I always think that sometimes these aren't fully autonomous and there's someone driving the robot remotely with a little game controller.
There's actually a really small
tiny person
in there.
Imagine if that was possible, where you could develop miniaturization technology to allow someone to drive one of those things, and we would be so oblivious to the fact that the miniaturization technology is way cooler than having them just drive a little robot.
Yeah.
That'd be some sort of sci-fi type show.
And that's gonna open a whole other can of worms of making sure that vehicle with the miniature person inside doesn't get crushed by a 18-wheeler driving down the road.
Well, look at the movie Ant-Man, for example.
Yeah, true.
I think we've just described some of the scenes in Ant-Man.
Men in Black. Remember the first one? They had the small little alien driving a human, like cyborg.
He was controlling the actual human being.
Right.
All right, I want to get to one more story in this before we move on to the other topic. And this is something that happened a few weeks ago. We did not talk about this, but now it feels like it's appropriate in this realm of people doing awful things in robots or cars. Apparently, also in San Francisco, residents are having intimate relations in robo-taxis, and no one is talking about it, according to this one headline. So we're going to talk about it a little bit here. As autonomous vehicles become increasingly popular in San Francisco, some riders are wondering just how far they can push the vehicle's limits, especially with no front seat driver or chaperone to discourage them from questionable behavior. For some, that's a welcome invitation to test the AV's limits. They quoted, Megan, a woman in her 20s, took her first robotaxi ride on a recent late night excursion. It was also her first time having relations in a driverless vehicle. Now, this is great. The Standard is not providing exact dates of the riders' debauchery to protect their privacy, but has verified the rides took place through documentation. Names have been changed because of the riders' privacy concerns. Oh, man.
I mean, they obviously planned this out. They planned this out.
How do you plan this out?
Well, look, it says here, we got in and just got straight to it, making out, said Megan, who got into the cruise wearing nothing but a robe.
Oh, boy.
So you hail the cab.
Yep.
You're there waiting in your robe.
Yep.
And so obviously it was planned.
With another person.
Yeah, with another person. So, it's not, to them, it's not a bad thing. To them, it's a great thing. They get to, have a great time with, in a car that they don't have to drive and,
Yep.
but.
So the story goes on to say that I guess the windows fog up because that sort of happens when
They don't have anti-fog.
They are not
technology.
anti-fog windows. I think that the windows do
They're
fog
going to
up.
need it now.
They said if you're at a stop sign and other cars are around, there were some people that could see what was going on, and they gave them a thumbs up. they were excited about that kind of thing. The first thing I worry about is like they're supposed to have cameras inside these cars.
Well, to their defense, I mean, I think Megan, this person saying, I mean, there's no one telling you can't do that. There's no rule against doing
There's probably going to be signs in there that says, please do not have sex in this car.
Yeah.
So I would just be worried if I was going to be in there, I'm being monitored as my ride. If I start doing things I'm not supposed to be doing in there, there's footage and the company has this footage, but I think again, it's one of those cases where there's so many cars that you're monitoring. I don't know if anybody is monitoring this in real time. I doubt it. Would you have to go look through all of the footage?
Well, it'd be a privacy. It's a privacy issue.
What privacy? You should have no expectation of privacy if you're in a robotaxi.
Yeah, but that's
you're not
the larger
violating.
question.
You are not violating the passenger's privacy. They have no right to privacy, and I can guarantee you, a court would say, you step into a taxi cab in public, you have no expectation of privacy. Now, the issue does become different if it's a private car.
But that's what I mean, because it's not autonomous. Essentially, it's private.
But you're in a taxi. It's like you're in a taxi with just no driver. If you went out and bought this car and it was approved to go on the road, so there aren't any private cars yet, I believe. Maybe Elon Musk has one. But if you did this in your own car, then you do have an expectation of privacy. Because there's not going to be any cameras in the cameras are in the car for a couple of reasons. Like, let's say you're in Las Vegas and you've been partying all night and you get sick in the car. The Uber or Lyft or whoever can charge you for the cleanup fee. And they've got documented proof that you were the person that did it.
It's their car.
Right. So why are you confused here?
I'm not confused. I just don't think it's not going to happen. There's not going to be cameras in the cars.
There are cameras. No, there already are cameras in the cars.
There currently are cars?
Yes, there are
cameras in the cars?
Yes, there are. Yes, and the problem is that the companies aren't doing anything about it. Maybe they should.
What do you mean they're not doing anything about it? Doing anything about the
people having sex in the cars?
In the car?
Yeah. Because apparently these young people are proud of the fact that they were able to do it.
But they're not. These autonomous car makers aren't saying you can't do that in the car.
It might be in the terms of service.
If it was, then I think they would be able to do something about it. I think the reason why they're not doing anything about it is because it's not written anywhere. You know what I mean? It's not.
All right.
All right.
So, all right, counselor, I believe you've defended your client in the court of public opinion here.
No, I'm just saying, Yeah, they say here, we record video inside of the car for added safety and support.
Yeah.
Yeah, so obviously, let's say if people...
And I think someone even in the article said they kept thinking that they were going to be banned from the service, and they haven't yet. So either the companies are not monitoring it.
I don't think...
Or they were...
They're not going to do anything about it because I don't think they want to. I don't think they want to open that can of worms.
Well,
think about it.
Now that even causes me less enthusiasm to go into an autonomous car now. Because if you were a germaphobe before this news came out, imagine how creeped out you would be. Like,
I think it's beyond that.
No. So two people are taking a ride. They go do their thing. You're the next passenger in the car. Do you want to sit in a car that has been used like that?
You're never going to know.
Well, okay. All right. Do you know how many people go to hotel rooms and bring in a black light?
Oh, I'm sure.
You've seen those TV reports?
Yeah.
Where they go into a hotel room, especially in Vegas or some other Party City.
Yeah.
And you shine the black light in the room and you see where things have happened. Or you look at the remote control. They said that's that is the most germ-ridden device in a hotel room. Back in the day when I was a technology columnist, do you remember if I was writing the cool tools? I did the gift guide, all that kind of stuff. Someone sent me a little tiny black light type of device that it was like a hand scanner and you could shine black light on things. I gave that to our then president of the IDG Enterprise Group because he traveled a lot and he was also a huge germaphobe. And I gave it to his assistant. I said, give this to him. He can go into the hotel room and he can scan all this stuff. I think if you're a germaphobe, you're going to want to do this in a taxi cab now. Or I suppose it's no different from a regular taxi cab. There's probably stuff that goes on in a regular, but at least you have a driver and the driver could clean up a little bit if someone gets sick in the car, that type of stuff.
I mean, if you're concerned about germs, you're probably going to bring your own little baggie of little Clorox wipes with you. You know, if you're like that. But yeah, I don't know.
I did a survey on our YouTube channel about if you want to be in a self-driving car, if you've actually ridden in one, and if you ever want to. And the majority of the responses I got on that was nope, no thanks. And then the biggest one was not until it's proven safe.
Yeah.
I may have to do one about, does this story, like, would you get into one of these cars if you knew that the passenger before you was doing something bad? I think it's gross. I just think that the car these companies should do a little bit more monitoring of the situation before you can get in.
Yeah. And, maybe they should. They probably should do more monitoring, but I'm just looking ahead. I think if they do start to crack down on that, you might see the draw of people using the autonomous vehicles go down. That's just my gut feeling. I'm not saying it'll happen. I just think, that might be a possibility. So just to confirm, the autonomous cars out now that are in operation have cameras inside to monitor activity.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. So I had this running through my mind just a minute ago. It's like, I think if the companies want to crack down on the type of activity that's going on in these autonomous vehicles, they should really implement, you've seen Harry Potter, right?
Yeah.
Madam Umbridge, whatever. The one who wore the pink.
Yep. Okay.
blouse.
Dolores Uxbridge. Umbridge.
Umbridge.
Uxbridge is a town in Massachusetts.
If you're maybe too close to someone, you hear a voice call. You're like, "Oh, separate!" Or if you're starting to do something you're not supposed to, you're gonna get a wand going off. So you're like, "No, don't do that."
I can see someone monitoring every ride, and then having a little loudspeaker that goes.
I mean,
get apart, get away from that person.
That's what I mean when I say if people start to see these autonomous car makers start to crack down on the activity going on inside the cars, you might see less draw using them. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Probably
this whole big picture here, between these three stories that we were talking about, proves how awful people are.
Well, they're just not thoughtful of the others around them. Probably, I'd put it.
And we know that
considerate.
People are not considerate of other people, and they are also not considerate of these robots and these self-driving cars,
of property that's not theirs,
of technology that is supposed to be improving our lives. And I think that you're going to see that with the AI stuff too.
I mean, it improved their lives in that
for at least 5 minutes.
For 5 minutes or longer, they had a good ride in that vehicle.
Oh boy, this podcast has gone downhill pretty quick. All right, so I'm going to move on to the next story of AI generated art is not allowed to receive any copyrights at U.S. court. This did come up in another court ruling a few months ago, But now this is in related to the Copyright Office. A work of art created by artificial intelligence without any human input cannot be copyrighted under U.S. law. A U.S. court in Washington, D.C. has ruled. Only works with human authors can receive copyrights, U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell said on Friday, affirming the Copyright Office's rejection of an application filed by computer scientist Stephen Thaler on behalf of his DABUS system, which is short for the Device for the Autonomous Bootstrapping of Unified Sentience. Okay, that's a little creepy.
All right, so it's decided.
So, well, he's good. I think there's going to be some appeals, and at some point the Supreme Court will probably get involved in deciding this.
What do you think the decision should be made? If you have an opinion on it,
I think it should not be copyrighted.
It shouldn't be copyrighted.
It should not be copyrighted only because I don't know if the human.
Well, because the human element is
there is a human element to it when in terms of writing the prompt,
right,
to create the image. But the problem is that the same prompt creates different works of art every time. We put in the same prompt 6 times in Midjourney, you get 6 different drawings.
Because you can be the author of the prompt. You author a well thought out prompt.
Yes.
You put it into the AI engine, whatever, and it spits out whatever. You, as the human, aren't necessarily creating that thing that it's spitting out.
Right. You're creating, and you can't, I don't think you can copyright an idea. You could argue though, well, this is the idea
IP,
that I had. I want an AI image drawing to draw a picture of 6 monkeys typing on a typewriter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, there's
the final image could be used by anyone, I think. I don't think you could, it just gets into a lot of
it becomes
really ugly
difficult
law if you start copywriting things that are created by a computer.
Right. It becomes difficult because, again, the human element really isn't there. That's creating these things, right? Images, video, whatever you want the AI to do. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with their decision. In my opinion, I agree that it can't be copyrighted.
Yeah, and this was just an argument between this one guy and the Copyright Office. I think there was another artist who tried to get her copyrights of the images that she put in her book. Mm-hmm. They said the book could be copyrighted, but not the image that's in it if it's drawn by an AI. We've used AI images as thumbnails for our
couple times
for and if you want to grab that image, I'm not going to have a problem with it.
Yeah. So wait. So the book that has the images is copyrighted,
right?
But the images themselves are not. So
right.
How does one getting their book copyrighted while still not having the contents of that book fully protected?
Because you could say the text in the book is copyrighted.
Okay, I see.
So you can't just make a copy of that entire book, but you could make a copy of the image that's in that book. Yeah, I'm sure this is going to be weird. Another...
We need to bring a lawyer on.
Yeah. Well, there's also the idea of remixing and transformative art. There's an argument that says that if you take a piece of artwork and then manipulate it and change it in any sort of way, that's called remixing, and you've transformed it.
It's no longer the original.
If I try to hand draw something like the Mona Lisa, can my drawing be a separate piece of image, or do I have to pay the copyright? Yeah. Anyway, that's interesting as well. And our next story involves Meta, our pals at Meta. Meta, the parent company of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, has doubled down on its return to office policy, with the social media giant's head of people, Lori Gohler, telling workers that a failure to meet the company's minimum attendance requirements could result in termination. Wow. They are cracking down on getting back to the office 3 days a week.
Only 3? Oh, that's not that bad. That's not that bad.
In early June, Meta announced it would be asking employees that had not been specifically designated as remote workers to return to the office 3 days a week, starting in early September. That policy update came in the wake of several rounds of mass layoffs at the company, during which time CEO Mark Zuckerberg praised the benefits of in-office work. This week, Goler announced more details about the return to office policy in an internal post on Meta's workplace platform. Quote, as we shared in June, beginning September 5th, people assigned to an office need to spend at least 3 days per week working in person to foster healthy relationships and strong collaboration. And this was first published by Business Insider. However, activities such as meeting with clients will count towards an employee's in-person working quota. And if workers take personal time off, sick days, or have travel or family emergencies, they will not be expected to make up those missed days with additional in-office attendance. So good for them. But repeated violations may result in disciplinary action up to and including a performance rating drop and ultimately termination if not addressed.
That's good. So from the looks of it, it looks like nothing has changed since the olden days, right? I mean, honestly, good on Meta. You know, they're making a decision. They're like, okay, come in 3 days a week. That's all we're asking. Not 5, 3. Come in 3 days a week, and then that's it.
I would be fine with that if they didn't then decide 6 months later, all of a sudden now they move the goalposts again, and now they say, okay, now everyone's got to come in 5 days a week.
And I'd be okay with that too, because it's like nobody else had a problem with it.
Don't you understand the anxiety that an employee would have in terms of what terms of employment do you want from me? You know, we started this relationship. Maybe they started as a remote worker, so it was remote work at home, and then it was like, okay, now you're telling me I have to come in. Now you're telling me I have to come in all 5 days.
I mean, it's up to the company.
It's their company. It's their job.
Company, and if people don't like it, then they can look elsewhere. I mean, we didn't really have a problem with this pre-plague.
I know it's all this pandemic.
Today,
crap.
it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because we've proven that we can work from home. Well, what if the company wants us to be together again? Like go into the office and collaborate, like what they're saying, collaborate.
Yeah,
and
I know.
I think there was a quote here. He was saying, engineers earlier in their career perform better on average when they work in person with teammates at least 3 days a week, he claimed. And I mean, yeah, that's probably accurate. That's probably accurate. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have, two sides. People that like this, people that don't.
There you go. You've nailed it in a nutshell, Chris. It's people are either going to like it or they're going to hate it.
Yeah. You're going to have the people that are okay with it. They're going to suck it up, go in, and the other people are just going to cry, shout, and have a tantrum, which, again, I don't understand. But, again, to each their own.
What will be interesting to see is whether a big tech company, it might not be Meta, it might be someone else, if they actually fire someone for violating a policy around this person did not come in the office enough.
I think that would happen.
Or will they try to hide it in performance reviews and this person wasn't performing up to the standards and they were put on a different plan. I want to see if anyone is bold enough to say, yes, this person was fired because they refused to come in the 3 days of the week that we had asked.
I think it'll happen. Okay. I think it will.
I think they're going to try to hide it at first.
Maybe.
Although I don't know if you can get sued. I don't know if this would be lawsuit worthy or not.
I mean,
again, it depends on if it's in the company policy and employee handbook and things like that.
That's the thing. That's exactly what I was just going to bring up, because I remember when I got hired for a job.
Not this one.
Yeah, not this one, but in the job contract.
Yep.
Right. It said you must have a car and you must be able to travel to and from the office, and so like. Yeah, it's written there. I signed it. So even though we have a lot of pushback today on, returning to the office, the employer holds all the power.
Yeah, and we live in a state here in Massachusetts where an employer could fire you for no reason at all. They don't have to even give you severance. No, it's the type of state where they don't have to give you the 2 weeks.
If you're being laid off.
If you're being, I think even fired, you can just say, you're fired. There's a legal term for it, and we're one of the states where they
Allow it.
allow it. They could just like there's not necessarily a contract. People in higher positions, you would have a contract and said, all right, you work here for 6 months, and then we'll review the contract after another 6 months. But then after 4 months, they could just if it's like a football head coach that gets fired,
Yeah.
they pay off the rest of the contract. And in this state, I think you could just void that, or that you don't. If you don't have a contract with someone, they can just. It's called at will.
Huh,
So
I
they
didn't
could-
know that.
Yeah, it's a weird, and again, the employment law, and you get legal stuff mixed in there. But there's not a lot of great rights for employees in some states, including this one. So there's another meta story I want to talk about. They have released the web version of its text-first social media platform, Threads. Remember that? Remember Threads is still around, apparently.
Oh, wow.
They're now going to have a web version in a bid to retain professional users and gain an edge over its rival, which was the X/formerly Twitter. Thread users will be able to access the microblogging platform by logging into its website from their computers. This is going to be rolled out over the next few weeks and days. The widely anticipated rollout could help Threads gain broader acceptance among power users, such as brands, company accounts, advertisers, and journalists, who can now take advantage of the platform by using it on a bigger screen. They crossed 100 million signups within 5 days of its launch, but then they did see a decline in popularity as users returned to the more familiar platform X after the initial rush. I actually discovered one of the features where they said you can now have your feed can be just followers, which was good because the feed I was getting was all sorts of recommended people that I had no interest in following.
Yeah.
And finally I figured out how to do it. It was on my phone, but it wasn't obvious. You have to hold down the home button, and then the menu pops up, and then you switch over from the everyone feed into the followers feed. It's still, there's nobody that I'm following that is on the platform. And those that do are usually Instagram
Right.
accounts of pages and companies or interests. There's not any people.
Yeah, I don't think people are gonna.
But I've given up
Adopt.
mostly largely on Twitter as well.
I've just given up on social media in general. I have a Facebook and an Instagram for pictures because I like taking pictures. Right?
Yeah.
I think people are gonna have how could we call it app variety fatigue. We're gonna have too many options.
Well, yeah, you see that if you have a 10 or 20 apps for social media, you're not going to use them all the time for everything.
Yeah, it just becomes more work at the end of the day because now you got to monitor. Okay, you got to monitor X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Threads. It's like no thanks. There's no real reason for me to start adding that app to my.
The interesting part about
social
all of
media
this
rotation.
too is that Elon Musk is, I think, slowly becoming a supervillain. Because of the
Anti-hero.
things- Anti-hero? All right,
Anti-hero.
you call him an anti-hero. I'm calling him a supervillain.
Yeah.
This whole thing with Mark Zuckerberg and the cage match, it just felt like I was watching a WWE wrestling, the feud.
But you like wrestling.
I do
so
like
it's
wrestling,
kinda,
and so I automatically recognize these tactics by Elon Musk is something that your heel wrestler would do.
Yeah.
Ric Flair was great at this. He was the best heel ever. And you taunt your opponent, you call him a chicken, and then when he challenges you to the fight, you go, oh, my back, I need back surgery, and okay, well, we'll do it here. Oh no, we'll cancel, and so that I'm finally glad that Zuckerberg finally said, like, this is stupid. Tell me when you're serious.
Oh, it's off.
Oh, it's off again.
Oh, wow. Okay. I haven't been following it recently.
Well, because again, Elon Musk tweeted that he was going to go to Zuckerberg's house and ring the doorbell and challenge him to the cage match at that point,
Right then and there.
forcing the people at Meta to go, Mark Zuckerberg is out of town. Like, he's not going to be there. He's on a trip.
He's just
this
trolling.
is just
He's just
trolling.
trolling.
It's just trolling. But now he's getting rid of the headline links in news posts. So if you post a story or a photo, they're gonna strip out the headline. And then he says he's going to get rid of the block button, so you won't be able to block people, which is a big deal if you don't want to see a bunch of crap on your feed.
Yeah,
which is what I do all the time. I see people that I don't want to particularly hear from because they're just mouthing political garbage, and so I block them. So I don't. But now I'm going to have to see all that stuff again. No, thank you.
Yeah, I think he's just helping the media keeping their content moving. He's keeping the headline machine moving. Media outlets. Content.
It has
moving,
people talking about Elon Musk every single day. There's always another article about what crazy ass stuff he's doing.
Exactly.
Which is, but that's super villain territory, Chris.
A lot of free advertising. I think he knows. I think he knows what he's doing.
I think he's deliberately trying to run the company into the ground.
I don't think so.
Or change it to the fact. I don't know. I've given up on trying to use the platform.
What Elon has, right? So he took over Twitter. Okay, he bought it. He took it over. I think he has a commodity right now. It's going to be very hard for people to ditch Twitter,
as proven by the stuff with Threads.
Exactly.
There was not a mass exodus to Threads. There was not a mass exodus to Mastodon and some of these other fringier social media sites. Yes.
Yeah.
So they've got a bunch of hostages that are stuck addicted to Twitter.
Yeah. And it's going to
not me though.
How could you get rid of Twitter when what it does well, and whatever changes Elon makes to it, they're probably good. Again, I don't use X, Twitter, whatever. I don't use it, but from what I've heard, I've heard less complaints about it. Because there was this thing where
I think most people can probably get along with not having to follow Twitter at all for their.
Absolutely.
People would be much better off if you didn't. Even for breaking news, I don't think I would jump on Twitter. If there was something breaking, I would probably. I don't know where I would go. I might turn on the radio and listen for updates if it was a natural disaster, for example.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or I'd try to find a place with a TV.
Yeah.
That's a really good question. I don't really follow a lot of breaking news as much anymore.
I mean, I don't follow it on Twitter, but I'm able to follow it.
But we used to. We used to do that.
I mean, I do follow it on YouTube. I follow my specific channels that I follow. I get it from YouTube and also Facebook and the Facebook feed. So
okay. So right now, my current opinion is Elon Musk supervillain, and you're Elon Musk anti-hero.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's show, Chris. I think we're going to wrap it up. Good to talk to you as always.
Yeah, sounds good.
That's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any thoughts you have below. Is Elon Musk a supervillain or is he an anti-hero? Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.